Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Clash at the Castle review. Clash at the Castle was from Principality Stadium in Cardiff, and this is the first time in 30 years that WWE has held a big show out there in the UK. The last time the UK got a big show was SummerSlam 92, which was from Wembley Stadium, main evented by the British Bulldog and Bret Hart. One of the best SummerSlam matches of all time. But the show just ended, and I thought it was a very good show, very entertaining. The crowd was electric throughout the night, and WWE came off with a very good show here. I like to see them do a Clash at the Castle for next year. And in my opinion, I think after the success of the show today, maybe WWE will do another Clash at the Castle for next year. I think it should be a every year thing where they go to Cardiff or anywhere else in the UK. But that's what I think they should do. But the matches that we got on the show, we had a match that was on the kickoff show, which I didn't know that there was going to be a match on the kickoff show because they announced nothing for the kickoff. So the match that was on the kickoff was the Street Profits and Madcap versus the Alpha Academy and Austin Theory in a 6-man tag, which I only saw a little bit towards the end of it. Because like I said, I didn't know that there was going to be a match on the kickoff show because WWE announced nothing that, there was going to be a match, on the kickoff. And then we saw on the regular matches on the card, we had the 6-woman tag team match where it was Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky versus Alexa Bliss, Asuka, and Bianca Belair. We had the Intercontinental Championship on the line. Gunther defending the title against Sheamus, which that match was fucking awesome. Loved that match. In my opinion, that match will be a Match of the Year candidate. Now we had the Smackdown Women's Championship on the line where Liv Morgan defended the title against Shayna Baszler. We had Rey Mysterio and Edge taking on the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Damian Priest. And a little something at the end happened after the match, which obviously we knew was coming, very predictable. But I like how the way that it was done. And then we had Seth Rollins versus Matt Riddle. And in the main event, we had Roman Reigns defending the undisputed WWE Universal Championship against Drew McIntyre. And we had a debut of, someone, who is the cousin to Roman Reigns. So, going to explain about that. But overall, Clash at the Castle, very good show, very entertaining. I'm glad that WWE went back and delivered a big show there in the UK, in 30 years. But anyways, let's get on with the review. But I'm going to start with the match that was on the kickoff of the pre-show. And it was the Street Profits and Madcap versus the Alpha Academy and Austin Theory in a 6-man tag. Like I said, I only caught a little towards the end of the match because I didn't know that WWE was going to have a match on the pre-show. I feel like this match was just thrown together before the show went live. But the Street Profits and Madcap ended up winning the match. But those were your winners on the the pre-show. So it might have been a pretty good match. But like I said, only caught a little bit towards the end of the match. Now I'm going to start with the regular matches on the card. And I got to say, I like the presentation of Clash at the Castle, where you had the castle above the ring in CGI. I thought that looked really awesome. You had a very long ramp that went, from the stage all the way down, where the superstars would walk out and walk down to. It felt very very old schoolish. But Clash at the Castle opened up with the 6-woman tag team match, Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky, which their team is now being called Damage Control. And they end up taking on Alexa Bliss, Asuka, and Bianca Belair. And this was a good 6-woman tag team match. Bayley getting a huge pop there in Cardiff, and the crowd was just cheering, "Hey, hey, Bayley, ooh, ah, I wanna know, will you be my girl?" That was a throwback there to when Bayley was in her hugger gimmick, and she was babyface, and they would chant that down there in NXT. And then when she made her way up to the main roster on Monday Night Raw, the crowd sort of did that for Bayley. But that was very nice hearing that again. The crowd just doing that for Bayley, and Bayley was just getting very annoyed with the crowd doing that. But I'm a huge Bayley fan, and I just loved hearing that crowd there just sing that again, because it's been a long while since we heard that. So, Bayley was trying to silence the crowd for, doing that. But Bayley ended up attacking Asuka on the apron, and Bianca Belair ended up punching Io Sky, and we had all 6 women get into the ring, and a brawl ended up breaking out. Bianca was left in the ring with Bayley. Bianca ended up connected with a shoulder tackle to Bayley. Bianca ended up shouldering Bayley into the corner, ended up throwing her into the corner, and end up hitting a drop kick to Bayley. Bianca then ended up kipping up, started dancing. Bianca ended up going for a handspring standing moonsault, and Dakota Kai and Io Sky end up pulling her out of the ring. Alexa Bliss then end up running in, and Dakota Kai and Io Sky end up going for a double team suplex on Alexa Bliss, but Asuka ended up stopping that from happening. So Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, and Asuka then end up hitting a triple team suplex to Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky, which was great. Bianca then end up squashing Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky with a handspring standing moonsault, which was cool. And we had the crowd, they were clapping as Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky end up recovering. Bayley got into the ring. The crowd started singing again, the "Hey, hey, Bayley, ooh, ah, I want to know, will you be my girl?" Bayley started smiling before tagging in Io Sky, and then the crowd just booed, which I thought that was very funny. So we had Alexa Bliss end up tagging in. Bliss ended up ducking a right hand from Io Sky, and Alexa Bliss ended up going for a kick. Io Sky blocked it. Bliss ended up slapping Sky in the face twice. Sky ended up going for a trip, and Alexa Bliss ended up standing on her back. So Alexa Bliss ended up going to the center of the ring, ended up hitting a drop toe hold to Io Sky. Bliss ended up making the tag, but Io Sky ended up pulling Alexa Bliss to her corner, and Sky ended up tagging in Bayley. The crowd once again singing to Bayley. Bayley ended up attacking Alexa Bliss and tagged in Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai then stomped on Alexa Bliss, started choking her. Bayley ended up taking it back in. Once again, the crowd singing along for Bayley. Bliss ended up taking Bayley down, tagged in Asuka. Alexa Bliss ended up punching Bayley, and Asuka followed up and hit a bulldog on Bayley. So Asuka then ended up driving her hip into Bayley's face. Asuka ended up going for a kick. Bayley blocked it and ended up taking Asuka down. Bayley then ended up pulling Asuka up, but Asuka applied a waistlock on Bayley. Io Sky ended up tagging in. Asuka ended up sending Io Sky to the apron. Bayley ended up attacking from behind. Asuka ended up hitting Bayley with a missile dropkick. And then Asuka ended up turning into a springboard missile dropkick from Io Sky. Sky ended up delivering some slaps to Asuka. And Io Sky ended up bending Asuka under a kick and rolled her up. And Asuka ended up kicking out too. Io Sky connected with a big kick and tagged in Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai ended up just punching away at Asuka. Bayley tagged back in. Bayley immediately tagged back out, which upset the crowd because she knew they would be singing again to her. So Io Sky ended up coming in, started choking Asuka, and we had Io Sky end up hitting a double knee on Asuka, and she ended up going for a cover. Asuka kicked out at 2. Bayley ended up coming in, and Dakota Kai ended up blind tagging in. Asuka ended up knocking Bayley out of the ring. She tagged in Alexa Bliss. Bliss ended up hitting Bayley with a cannonball, and then Dakota Kai ended up hitting a drop kick to Alexa Bliss into the barricade. So Dakota Kai ended up getting Alexa Bliss in the ring, ended up going for the cover. Bliss ended up kicking out at 2. You had Alexa Bliss later on end up hitting Dakota Kai with a Hurricanrana. Bianca Belair ended up going for a tag, and Bayley ended up pulling her off the apron. Bianca Belair ended up getting Bayley away, and she ended up getting on the apron. And Dakota Kai ended up knocking Bianca off the apron. Alexa Bliss ended up slamming Dakota Kai, and Asuka tagged in. Io Sky also tagged in, so Asuka and Io Sky were in the ring. Asuka ended up hitting a missile dropkick to Io Sky, and then she hit Dakota Kai with a hip attack. Asuka ended up taking Bayley down, and she ended up hitting Io Sky with a hip attack. You had, later on, Alexa Bliss ended up running in and punched Dakota Kai out of the ring, and then Bayley delivered the belly-to-belly to Alexa Bliss. Asuka then ended up blocking a kick from Io Sky, but Io Sky quickly kicked Asuka in the face. So later on, Bianca Belair tagged in. She ended up punching Bayley, and she ended up hitting a slingshot clothesline. Bianca Belair shouldered Bayley into the corner, and Bianca ended up slingshotting Bayley over her, and she did a backflip and hit the spine buster to Bayley. Bianca Belair then ended up hitting a standing moonsault for a near fall, and then Bayley, later on, she pulled the braid of Bianca Belair and punched her back. So there was another point later on where Bayley ended up pulling the braid of Bianca Belair again as Dakota Kai ended up attacking her. Bayley tagged in. This is what happened at the end of the match. Bayley ended up tagging in, hit Bianca Belair with the rose plant. Io Sky immediately followed up, went up to the top, and delivered a moonsault onto Bianca Belair. Bayley ended up going for the cover, and there you go. We had Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky win the match. So Bayley pinned the Raw Women's Champion. So now we all know who's next in line to face Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. And it's Bayley. So sometime we're going to get Bayley versus Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. Might happen at Extreme Rules, which is the next premium live event. So we might be seeing that at Extreme Rules. But overall, this was a very good 6-woman tag team match. And then we had Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre was shown backstage. He was with Tyson Fury, and Drew McIntyre and Tyson Fury end up shaking hands. And Tyson Fury was shown at ringside. He was, front row for the show. And then we saw highlights from SummerSlam 1992, which was 30 years ago, was from Wembley Stadium. And, of course, it was main evented by the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, against his brother-in-law, Bret Hart, for the Intercontinental Championship. And what a classic match that was. One of the best SummerSlam main events of all time. And, of course, British Bulldog ended up winning the match, defeating his brother-in-law, Bret Hart, and win the Intercontinental Championship. And he got a massive pop there 30 years ago. Just, like I said, an absolutely classic match. If you guys haven't seen British Bulldog versus Bret Hart, SummerSlam 92 for the Intercontinental Championship, highly would recommend you watch it. Just absolutely classic. One of the best SummerSlam main events of all time. Just, we'll never forget that pop that British Bulldog got when he won the Intercontinental Championship. But British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, may he rest in peace. And then, after we saw the highlight of that classic main event 30 years ago, we saw the family of the British Bulldog. They were shown sitting at ringside, and Bret Hart, of course, was also there. He was sitting ringside. He got a massive pop from the crowd. And Bret Hart had a right to be there. He competed there in UK 30 years ago at SummerSlam 92. So he just had to be there. And then we had Sheamus versus Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. And this match, I loved it from beginning to end. This, in my opinion, is Match of the Year candidate. This was a 5-star classic. So you had, of course, Sheamus and Butch and also Ridge Holland. They ended up coming out. And then what was really cool, and I like that they did this for the show, we had Ludwig Kaiser end up coming out. And he reintroduced Imperium with Giovanni Vinci. And of course, Giovanni Vinci was formerly known as Fabian Aichner. So both of them were out there, which I loved. And I'm really glad that Triple H ended up doing this for the show. So Imperium was reformed, and then you had Gunther coming out there. Of course, Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser, Fabian Aichner were Imperium when they were down in NXT. And Imperium, just a really good group there when they were down in NXT. So I'm really glad that they reinformed Imperium at the show. So we had Sheamus and Gunther. They were face-to-face. And the Brawling Brutes, you had Butch and Ridge Holland. They end up brawling with Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci. And Sheamus and Gunther were just still staring face-to-face at each other while we had the Brawling Brutes and Kaiser and Vinci just attacking them. Which, from that point, I'm like, oh, you could feel the energy there. You could feel the energy that we were about to witness, with Sheamus and Gunther in this match. So Butch hit a moonsault off the middle turnbuckle out to the floor onto both Kaiser and Vinci. Gunther and Sheamus still were just staring at each other down in the ring, just being face to face. And Imperium and the Brawling Brutes end up fighting to the back. And so the match got underway, and Sheamus and Gunther started fighting. Gunther ended up hitting some forearms to Sheamus, and Sheamus ended up knocking Gunther back with a forearm. And just both these guys were just blasting each other with chops and Sheamus's chest was just bloodied up from the chops delivered by Gunther. And we had Gunther end up shoulder blocking Sheamus, end up big booting Sheamus down. So Gunther ended up going for a suplex. Sheamus reversed it, and he delivered a suplex to Gunther. Sheamus ended up putting Gunther in the corner. Gunther delivered a boot to Sheamus. Sheamus then responded with some right hands, and he whipped Gunther into the corner. Gunther ended up lowering his head, and he ate a kick from Sheamus. Sheamus ended up knocking Gunther to the apron, ended up grabbing him for the 10 beats of Baron. And we had Gunther end up fighting away, and Sheamus ended up putting Gunther in the head. And both guys were at ringside, and Sheamus ended up whipping Gunther into the ring steps. Sheamus ended up getting Gunther in the ring. He ended up going for the 10 beats of Baron, and Gunther ended up powering out, started forearming Sheamus. Sheamus then knocked Gunther back and got into the ring. Gunther ended up getting Sheamus into the corner and chopped him to the chest. Gunther ended up getting back up, and he charged at Sheamus, but Sheamus ended up booting Gunther down. And this was a crazy spot here in this match, where Sheamus ended up pulling himself up to the top rope. And then Gunther chopped Sheamus, which sent Sheamus to the floor. Like, he was getting ready on top, and Gunther just chopped him, and then Sheamus bounced off the top to the floor. Crazy spot there. So Gunther then ended up picking up half of the ring steps, and he ended up chopping Sheamus. Gunther then ended up scoop slamming Sheamus onto the ring step on the outside. So Gunther started viciously chopping away at Sheamus' chest. He ended up slamming Sheamus in the back with a kick to Sheamus' spine. Gunther then ended up chopping Sheamus' chest a few times. You know, like I said, Sheamus' chest was just all red and just bleeding, cut up from those chops, those vicious chops from Gunther. So we had Sheamus, he tried to fight back against Gunther. Gunther viciously ended up clubbing Sheamus, and he ended up booting Sheamus in the face. So Gunther then ended up leaning Sheamus against the ropes, started annihilating Sheamus' chest once again with chops. So Sheamus ended up pulling himself up to his feet. Gunther quickly ended up clubbing Sheamus back down. He ended up grabbing Sheamus' leg. Gunther ended up trying to turn Sheamus over, but Sheamus ended up fighting Gunther. Gunther then ended up chopping Sheamus in his back. Sheamus tried to fight back. They started exchanging punches in the center of the ring. Sheamus then ended up chopping Gunther a few times. Gunther ended up wrenching Sheamus' arm. He ended up smashing Sheamus' chest with a chop once again. So we had Sheamus later on. He ended up pinning a proper 10 beats of the boot onto Gunther. And then Gunther ended up falling to the floor. And the crowd was behind Sheamus there. So we had, later on, Sheamus ended up getting to his feet. Gunther ended up knocking Sheamus back out. Sheamus immediately responded with a knee to Gunther's face. He ended up going for a cover, and Gunther ended up kicking out. Crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." Sheamus ended up going for an Irish curse. Gunther ended up elbowing Sheamus in the head a few times for him to get out of the Irish curse. Gunther ended up applying a sleeper hold, and Sheamus ended up dropping to a knee. So Sheamus ended up powering Gunther up for the white noise, which Sheamus ended up hitting the white noise. Sheamus ended up going for the cover, and Gunther ended up kicking out. Sheamus got up to his feet, and the crowd was still behind him. Sheamus ended up setting up for the Brogue Kick. Gunther ended up pulling himself up to his feet, and Sheamus went for the Brogue Kick. Gunther sidestepped, and Sheamus ended up elbowing Gunther back. Gunther responded with a drop kick, and then Gunther hit the powerbomb, And he didn't get all of the powerbomb. It was a very weak powerbomb. And he ended up going for the cover. Sheamus ended up kicking out. So Gunther ended up attacking the lower back of Sheamus. He went to the top rope. Sheamus attacked him, started chopping away at him. Gunther ended up slapping Sheamus in the face a few times. Gunther ended up standing on the top rope. Sheamus ended up kicking his legs out from under him. Sheamus then ended up setting Gunther up, ended up hitting the Celtic Cross. And that was a very long time that we haven't seen Sheamus hit that move. It's been a while since we've seen Sheamus hit the Celtic Cross. And we had Sheamus end up covering Gunther, and Gunther kicked out. Sheamus ended up setting up for the Bro kick. And as Sheamus went for the Bro kick, his lower back tightened up, so he couldn't hit the Bro kick, to which Gunther ended up hitting another power bomb. It was another weak power bomb by Gunther, and Sheamus ended up starting to get to his feet, and Gunther ended up hitting Sheamus with a lariat. Gunther ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Gunther ended up winning the match, still retains the Intercontinental Championship. Post-match, Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser end up coming down to ringside. They end up celebrating with Gunther, and all three of them end up walking to the back. Sheamus got back up to his feet, and the crowd there, it was 62,000 in attendance there in Principality Stadium. They end up giving Sheamus a big ovation. It was an incredible moment, with Sheamus in the ring, the crowd giving him a big ovation. Sheamus was holding his lower back. He showed respect to the fans. It was an incredible moment there. You got to give Sheamus, a big ovation like that for what he went through here with Gunther. He gave it all he got, against Gunther. And it was a 5-star classic. But overall, in my opinion, this is Match of the Year candidate. I loved this match from beginning to end. The wrestling here from Sheamus and Gunther was absolutely awesome. And it's one match that you will want to rewatch over and over and over again. This will be a match that people are going to talk about for years to come. Just absolutely perfect, great match it was. And, seeing Imperium again, Vinci and Kaiser and Gunther was just awesome. Now we have Shayna Baszler versus Liv Morgan, SmackDown Women's Championship on the line. This was a solid match here. Shayna Baszler ended up going for Liv Morgan's arm as the bell ended up ringing, going for Liv Morgan's injured arm, to which Shayna Baszler, did some damage to it. Liv Morgan ended up dropping down, ended up rolling Shayna Baszler up for a 2 count. Baszler ended up going for the Carefree clutch, but Liv Morgan ended up getting out of that. Liv Morgan ended up taking Shayna Baszler down and applied a chin lock. Of course, you can't have a WWE match without a superstar using a chin lock to slow it down. So Shayna Baszler ended up getting out of the chin lock. Liv Morgan rolled Shayna Baszler up for another 2 count. Liv Morgan then ended up hitting a running Hurricanrana, ended up knocking Shayna Baszler into the ropes. Morgan ended up drop kicking Shayna Baszler against the ropes, and Baszler ended up stumbling into the corner and sidestepped Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan fought back, ended up standing on the top rope. Baszler ended up knocking Morgan off to the floor, and she ended up snapping her arm off the top rope. Baszler ended up going to the outside, ended up driving Liv Morgan's arm into the barricade. So pretty much basically Shayna Baszler, of course, focusing on that injured arm of Liv Morgan. Baszler ended up putting Morgan in the ring, ended up going for the cover. Morgan kicked out at 2. Baszler grabbed the arm, and she ended up stretching Liv Morgan's arm out. Morgan ended up knocking Shayna Baszler back, ended up delivering some boots to Shayna Baszler. So we had Baszler ended up clotheslining Liv Morgan down, ended up going for the cover. Liv Morgan kicked out at 2 again. Liv Morgan ended up going for a clothesline, but Shayna Baszler ended up hitting a German suplex to Morgan, ended up going for the cover, and Morgan kicked out. It was a near fall. So Shayna Baszler was just in frustration here at this point. Baszler ended up getting to her feet, ended up kicking Liv Morgan once again at Liv Morgan's injured arm. So, of course, like I said, Liv Morgan did some damage to Liv Morgan's arm, but the arm was also recovering from the attack from Ronda Rousey at SummerSlam, a month ago. So Shayna Baszler ended up grabbing Liv Morgan, ended up applying a overhead wrist lock. Liv Morgan then ended up kneeing Shayna Baszler in the head to get out of the wrist lock. Morgan then ended up avoiding a kick by Shayna Baszler, and she ended up hitting a jawbreaker. Liv Morgan ended up rolling under a big boot. She ended up going to the second rope and hit a missile drop kick to Shayna Baszler. So both Baszler and Liv Morgan were down. Liv Morgan did a kip up, and she ended up attacking Shayna Baszler, started kicking her down. Baszler ended up missing the clothesline and connected with a slingshot double knees to Liv Morgan's face, ended up going for the cover, and Liv Morgan ended up kicking out. And at the end of the match, we had Shayna Baszler ended up going for the Karafuda clutch, but once again, Liv Morgan ended up fighting out of that. Morgan then ended up hitting a code breaker and followed up, and she hit the Oblivion on Shayna Baszler, and she ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Liv Morgan ended up winning the match, retaining the SmackDown Women's Championship. Overall, it was a solid match, but we all thought that Liv Morgan was going to lose the title here. I was expecting, they were going to take the title off of Liv Morgan here and put it on Shayna Baszler, but that wasn't the case. So everybody was predicting that, even me. But as they want to keep giving Liv Morgan a longer reign with the SmackDown Women's Championship. Like I said, overall it was a solid match. And then we had Rey Mysterio and Edge versus the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Damon Priest. So we had Rey Mysterio. He ended up coming out along with his son DOMINIK. And Edge ended up coming out. Edge came out to a big pop there in Cardiff. And Edge was wearing a luchador mask. So it was Edge Libre. So it was a very cool luchador mask that Edge had. So Edge removed the mask when he got into the ring. And then we had the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Damien Priest, all, accompanied by Rhea Ripley. They end up coming out. And I like that the graphic that they had when Judgment Day's music ended up playing. And it had like the spiral cloud with the little bits of lightning. Thought that was pretty cool graphic and CGI. And what was really cool was 62,000 there were singing to Alter Bridge, Edge's theme music. And that was really cool. That was very electric. So the match started off with Finn Balor and Rey Mysterio. Balor punched Mysterio to the corner. He ended up whipping Mysterio across the ring. Balor ended up hitting a run chop, and he backed up on Mysterio. Balor ended up whipping Mysterio to the opposite corner. Mysterio slingshotted over Balor, started kicking at him. Balor ended up kicking Mysterio in his midsection, ended up going for a sunset flip. Mysterio then rolled through, ended up kicking Balor in the head. Mysterio ended up knocking him back, and he ended up hitting a head scissor takedown to Balor. So Damien Priest ended up tagging in. Priest ended up pointing to Edge. He ended up wanting Edge to come in so him and Edge could face off. The crowd started loudly cheering as Edge ended up tagging in. So it was Priest and Edge. Priest ended up quickly dropping Edge to his knees with a right hand to Edge's face. Priest ended up throwing Edge into the corner, started punching away at him. Priest then whipped Edge into the corner. Mysterio was laid across the top rope to protect Edge. Edge ended up quickly punching away at Damian Priest. So Balor then ended up trying to protect Priest on a whip into the corner, but Edge ended up reversing that. Edge then ended up kicking Balor in his ribs. Edge ended up sending Priest out of the ring and tagged in Mysterio. Mysterio then ended up hitting the ropes, rolled up Edge, and Edge ended up throwing Mysterio out of the ring onto Balor and Priest, which was great. So then Mysterio ended up having Priest in the ring. He ended up going for a moonsault, and Priest countered into a modified broken arrow, which was a cool spot there. Priest was angrily punching away at Mysterio. He booted Mysterio to the corner. Priest ended up looking at Edge. He ended up hitting a running elbow on Mysterio. Balor tagged in, ended up hitting a slingshot stomp to Mysterio. Balor started taunting the crowd. He ended up putting Mysterio in the corner. Tagged in Damian Priest. Balor ended up hitting Mysterio with a backbreaker. He ended up pulling him up for Damian Priest to hit a leg drop. Priest ended up going for the cover, and Mysterio kicked out at 2. Priest applied a chin lock, of course, and Mysterio ended up fighting out of the chin lock, so Damian Priest ended up sending him into the ropes. Priest lowered his head, ended up eating a kick from Mysterio, but Priest then ended up taking Mysterio down. So Priest ended up looking at Edge, started spitting at him. Balor tagged in. Priest ended up kicking Mysterio, and Balor ended up joining in, kicking at Mysterio. Balor then ended up hitting a scissor kick to Mysterio. He ended up going for the cover. Mysterio kicked out too. And then Balor looked like he was going to hit the Three Amigos on Mysterio. So he hit one suplex, and he clubbed Mysterio down. So Balor didn't hit the Three Amigos on Mysterio. So Rhea Ripley was shown laughing at ringside. Balor ended up applying a chin lock. Mysterio ended up fight up. Balor tagged in Damian Priest. Priest ended up attacking Mysterio, knocked him out of the ring. Priest distracted the referee, and then Balor ended up going to attack Mysterio at ringside. Mysterio ended up giving Balor a back body drop over the barricade. Mysterio stood on top of the barricade. Damian Priest ended up leaping up, and Priest ended up going for a powerbomb, but Mysterio ended up getting out, and he crotched Damian Priest on the barricade. And Michael Cole on commentary was like, Damian Priest is going to have a long flight back to the States. And all we see is Damian Priest just, selling the attack, going, woo, woo, woo. It was hilarious. But somebody out there is going to be creating a meme of that right now. That's going to be a meme for years to come of that spot, with Damian Priest being crushed on the barricade. But nothing will live up to when Roman Reigns crushed the Big Show at Extreme Rules, where Big Show was on the top, and he was going, Aah! Which made Roman Reigns break character. That was at Extreme Rules. I forgot what year it was. I think it was maybe 2015. I'm not sure. But it was one of the Extreme Rules that happened, where it was Big Show versus Roman Reigns. But Mysterio ended up getting in the ring. He tagged Edge in. Edge ended up taking out Balor and Priest. Edge ended up knocking Priest out of the ring. Ended up hitting Balor with the execution. Edge ended up sizing Balor up. And Mysterio ended up hitting Damian Priest with a Sea Senton off the apron. Edge ended up dropping Balor into the ropes. And Edge ended up hitting a 619, his very own 619. Mysterio then followed up with a top rope splash onto Balor. Edge ended up covering, and Damian Priest ended up breaking up the pin, delivered a kick to Edge's head. Priest then ended up going for a chokeslam on Mysterio off the ropes. Edge ended up spearing Priest off the apron out to the floor, which was awesome. Good spot there. So we had later on, DOMINIK ended up running in. He distracted the referee because Balor ended up hitting Edge with a drop kick, and he ended up going up to the top rope. Ray then ended up grabbing Balor, ended up hitting a top rope hurricanrana, which was crazy. Rhea Ripley ended up grabbing DOMINIK off the apron and threw him into the barricade a few times. Mysterio then ended up hitting a suicide dive into DOMINIK to knock Rhea Ripley into the barricade. And we had Balor end up setting up for a plancha later on. DOMINIK ended up sweeping the feet. And Ray ended up dropping Balor into the ropes. Ended up hitting the 619. And Edge immediately followed up with a spear to Balor. And there you go. Rey Mysterio and Edge ended up winning the match. Post-match, Ray and Edge ended up celebrating in the ring. DOMINIK got in the ring to celebrate with the both of them. And all of a sudden, DOMINIK ended up low blowing Edge. He ended up kicking Edge in the groin. And the crowd booed at DOMINIK. His father, of course Ray, ended up holding DOMINIK back. And Ray tried to talk some sense into his son. And then DOMINIK ended up delivering a vicious clothesline on his father. And DOMINIK ended up ripping off the shirt that he was wearing, the Rey Mysterio shirt, and he ended up walking to the back. And then all of a sudden we see Balor and Priest and Rhea Ripley just laughing. So now it's basically that. DOMINIK Mysterio ended up turning heel, which obviously we all saw that it was coming. WWE has been talking about, we want to turn DOMINIK heel. A lot of us were like, when is this heel turn coming? And, we got it here at Clash at the Castle. Do I sense that DOMINIK is going to join Judgment Day? Maybe. But we got the heel turn from DOMINIK here. And I like the way how it was done. But obviously it was predictable. We all knew it was coming. But overall, this was a very good match from Edge and Ray and Judgment Day. So then we had, them announce the attendance in Principality Stadium. And it was 62,296 people in attendance for the show. So 62,000 fans. And then we had Matt Riddle versus Seth Rollins. This was a good match here. We had Matt Riddle end up coming out first. And then Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins channeling his Elton John here. He's paying homage to Elton John. So he had the glasses, the heart glasses, the horns. So he was paying homage to Sir Elton John there. So the match ended up starting. Both Riddle and Rollins started brawling. And Riddle ended up getting Rollins in the corner, started kicking away at him. So the referee had to pull Matt Riddle back, and Riddle ended up shoving the ref. The referee ended up admonishing Riddle, but he didn't disqualify Riddle. So Riddle ended up going to the outside to get Rollins. He ended up driving him into the apron. Riddle ended up getting Rollins in the ring, ended up hitting some gut-wrench suplexes to Rollins. Rollins ended up pulling himself up, ended up delivering a kick to Riddle. Rollins just started chopping at Riddle, ended up hitting the ropes, and Riddle ended up kicking Rollins down. Riddle hit a pair of Brotons to Rollins, and he ended up going for the cover. Rollins ended up kicking out. And what I liked here was the crowd was just singing Rollins' theme music very loudly. 62,000 fans just singing away to Rollins' theme music. Riddle then ended up charging at Rollins, but Rollins ended up hitting a stun gun on the top rope to Riddle. Riddle ended up coming back, ended up going for the triangle choke, and Rollins ended up pulling him up and charged toward the ropes. Riddle then ended up holding the ropes, ended up pinning a Hurricanrana to the floor to Rollins. Riddle ended up going for a running kick. Rollins ended up blocking it. Rollins then ended up pinning the powerbomb into the barricade to Riddle. And Riddle stumbled to his feet. Rollins then ended up driving Riddle into the commentary table with a suicide dive, which was cool. Rollins ended up putting Riddle in the ring, ended up hitting a short arm clothesline. Rollins ended up sending Riddle into the ropes, elbowed him down, ended up going for the cover. Riddle ended up kicking out at 2. Rollins just started punching away at Riddle, ended up getting the referee's face. Riddle fought back, and Rollins just ended up cutting Riddle off with a kick to the ribs. Rollins then ended up hitting the Falcon Arrow to Riddle. He ended up going for the cover. Riddle ended up kicking out at 2. Riddle then got up in the corner, ended up booting Rollins in the back. Riddle ended up going to the top rope, and Rollins ended up crutching Riddle up on the top rope. Rollins then ended up going for a inverted superplex, and Riddle ended up leaning over, so Rollins ended up losing his balance. Rollins ended up kicking Riddle in the face to knock him into the Tree of Woe. Rollins ended up going to the top rope, ended up hitting a double stomp to Riddle's sternum for a near fall. Rollins ended up ripping at Riddle's face, ended up putting Riddle on the top rope. Rollins ended up hitting a superplex, and rolled through for a Falcon Arrow onto Riddle, but Riddle countered into the Fisherman's Buster. So Rollins was irate as he got up to his feet. Riddle started just peppering Rollins with some strikes, ended up knocking him into the corner. Rollins ended up knocking Riddle back, started charging at him, but Riddle ended up countering with an exploder. Rollins ended up rolling to the apron, so Riddle ended up leaping to the apron, ended up kicking Rollins in the face. Riddle then ended up hitting Rollins with the floating bro, ended up getting him in the ring. Rollins quickly ended up kicking Riddle, ended up going for the pedigree. Riddle ended up getting out of that, and Riddle ended up hitting a bro sleep, and he then went for the powerbomb on Rollins. Riddle viciously kneed Rollins in the face, ended up going for the cover, and Rollins ended up kicking out. Rollins was down on the mat. Riddle ended up kicking Rollins in the ribs, ended up going to the top rope. Rollins ended up getting his knees up on the floating bro. Rollins ended up going for the stomp, and Riddle ended up moving. So Riddle soon got Rollins in the triangle choke. Rollins seemed to be fading here, but Rollins ended up hitting Riddle with the Bro Derek, which of course is Riddle's move. So Rollins ended up going for the cover, and Riddle ended up kicking out. Rollins ended up going up to the top rope for a Phoenix Splash, but ended up landing on his feet when Riddle ended up moving. So Riddle ended up kicking away at Rollins, ended up hitting a snap kick. Riddle then kicked up, and Rollins threw a forearm to Riddle's face. Rollins ended up hitting a forearm to the back of Riddle's neck. He ended up going for the stomp, but Riddle ended up kneeing him. Rollins then ended up hitting a step up enziguri, and Riddle responded with a German suplex. Riddle then ended up going for a powerbomb, but Rollins countered that into a pedigree, which was cool. So Rollins ended up going for the cover, and Riddle ended up kicking out. There was a point where Rollins ended up hooking Riddle's head, ended up hitting a draping DDT, which of course, is Randy Orton's signature move. So Rollins then ended up setting up for the RKO. Riddle countered it into a rear naked choke. Riddle then ended up turning Rollins around, ended up clubbing away at Rollins' spine. So Riddle ended up knocking Rollins out of the ring, smashed his face off the commentary table. Riddle then ended up grabbing a chair, ended up swinging at Rollins, but Rollins ended up avoiding that. Rollins got into the ring, ended up hitting Riddle with a stomp, as Riddle ended up coming into the ring. Rollins ended up going to the second rope, ended up hitting a diving stomp on Riddle, and he ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Seth Rollins ended up winning the match. Overall, this was a very good match from Rollins and Riddle. And post-match, we had Rollins end up celebrating in the ring. Riddle appeared to be bleeding from above his eye. Rollins ended up leaving the ring dancing. And Rollins was like, "I'll see you never, pal." As Rollins was just, laughing. So that was basically that. And then we saw earlier in the day that Tyson Fury was talking with Roman Reigns, the Tribal Chief, undisputed WWE Universal Champion. And then Tyson Fury was shown again at ringside. And then somewhere else at ringside, we saw Karrion Kross and Scarlett sitting down there. So, of course, Karrion Kross was there to watch the Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns match, which, now I guess after Drew McIntyre, is done with Roman, it's going to be Karrion Kross versus Drew McIntyre. So that's going to be happening. And then we had highlights of Drew McIntyre's career. And what was awesome is that they used Drew McIntyre's old theme song, which was Broken Dreams. So it was good to hear that again. Good that they brought that back for Drew McIntyre's video package highlighting his career. That was awesome. And then we went to the main event. Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns, undisputed WWE Universal Championship on the line. Very good match this was. When Roman Reigns ended up coming out, he did not have the Usos out there. And Paul Heyman, of course, still out, still selling the effects of when Brock Lesnar F5'd him. So we had Drew McIntyre end up getting a big ovation there. Roman Reigns end up receiving boos from the crowd. Reigns and McIntyre went face to face. So the bell ended up ringing. They were still staring each other down. Both guys ended up locking up. And McIntyre eventually powered Roman to the corner. They ended up circling the ring. They ended up locking up again. Reigns ended up applying a side headlock. McIntyre backed Reigns into the ropes, ended up whipping him off. Reigns ended up going for a shoulder tackle, but McIntyre ended up staying on his feet. And he got in Roman's face. McIntyre ended up intimidating Reigns back to the corner. Reigns ended up pulling himself through the ropes to keep McIntyre back. The crowd was loving what was going on here. McIntyre ended up pointing at Reigns and smirked. Reigns ended up running in, and McIntyre ended up spinning Reigns around. Reigns ended up elbowing McIntyre off, ended up applying a side headlock. McIntyre then ended up whipping Reigns, and he shoulder tackled Reigns down. Reigns ended up rolling out of the ring to recover. Reigns ended up taking his time to recover on the outside, and he slowly got back to the ring. Reigns ended up kicking McIntyre in his midsection, and he connected with an uppercut. Reigns ended up punching McIntyre in the corner, a few times, and Reigns ended up hitting a headbutt to McIntyre. Reigns ended up pulling McIntyre to another corner, started throwing some punches. McIntyre ended up sliding out, ended up sweeping Reigns' feet. McIntyre then ended up hitting some punches on Reigns. McIntyre then ended up hitting the ropes, ended up clotheslining Reigns over the top rope. McIntyre ended up following Reigns out of the ring, ended up whipping Reigns into the ring steps. McIntyre ended up getting into the ring because the referee was counting on the outside. McIntyre ended up going to the outside, ended up grabbing Reigns, and there was a water bottle thrown at McIntyre. And when I saw that, I was like, did some crazy fan just throw a water bottle at McIntyre? But eventually, it was Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross was the one who threw the water bottle at McIntyre. So McIntyre then approached Karrion Kross. Reigns ended up taking advantage of the distraction and ended up attacking McIntyre. Reigns ended up sending McIntyre into the ring post. and McIntyre barely made it into the ring before being counted out by the ref. So Reigns started kicking away at McIntyre, ended up covering him, and McIntyre ended up kicking out too. Reigns started coupling away at McIntyre in the corner before sending McIntyre into the post shoulder first. McIntyre ended up hitting the ring steps as he ended up falling to the floor. So McIntyre's arm was hanging at his side. He ended up pulling himself onto the apron. Reigns ended up punching McIntyre, and McIntyre ended up snapping Reigns off the top rope. So Reigns was talking a lot of trash to McIntyre. He ended up throwing sweat from his chest onto McIntyre. McIntyre responded with some chops to Reigns' chest. Reigns ended up punching away at McIntyre, ended up leaving him laying on the mat. Reigns ended up pulling McIntyre to his feet. He ended up going for a suplex, but McIntyre blocked it. So both guys end up each blocking their suplexes a few times. Reigns just started punching McIntyre down in frustration. So Reigns demanded a mic, and the crowd was loudly booing at him. Reigns got on the mic. He ended up shouting, "Cardiff, acknowledge me." So the crowd booed even louder for Reigns. McIntyre then ended up hitting the Glasgow Kiss headbutt to Reigns. So both guys were down. And so they slowly got up to their feet. And both guys started trading punches in the center of the ring. Reigns ended up kicking McIntyre in his midsection, whipped him into the corner. But McIntyre ended up popping out with a clothesline to Reigns. So later on, we had McIntyre end up hitting Reigns with the Claymore kick to the back of Reigns' head, which knocked Charles Robinson out of the ring. Charles Robinson was the referee of the match. And all of a sudden, Austin Theory's music ended up hitting. Theory then ended up running down to cash in the Money in the Bank. And as he handed over the briefcase, Tyson Fury leveled Theory with a punch to the face. So Reigns ended up getting in the ring with a chair. McIntyre ended up catching Reigns with the Claymore kick. And the referee was in the ring. And we had Reigns end up kicking out. And the crowd was shocked at that. So we had Reigns later on. He ended up hitting a Superman punch to McIntyre, but McIntyre responded with a Glasgow Kiss headbutt. McIntyre avoided a Superman punch. He ended up spearing down Reigns. McIntyre then once again hit the Claymore kick. He ended up going for the cover. And the ref was pulled out of the ring. And there was a hooded figure out there. So it was revealed to be Solo SIKOA. Solo SIKOA is the young brother of Jimmy and Jay. So it was good to see Solo SIKOA here. There was talks of, when Solo SIKOA is going to be called up to the main roster, because Solo SIKOA has done a good job in NXT. Has great matches down there. The crowd end up loving him down there in NXT. And there was always talk about, of him being brought to the main roster, if he was going to be put with the Bloodline, with his brothers, Jimmy and Jay, and his cousin, Roman. So Drew McIntyre ended up grabbing at Solo SIKOA. Solo SIKOA ended up dropping McIntyre on the ropes, and that led to Reigns quickly hitting a spear to McIntyre. And Reigns ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Roman Reigns ended up winning the match, retaining the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. So 734 days and counting for Reigns, still as champion. But overall, this was a very good match here. Post-match, Roman Reigns ended up celebrating in the ring. Tyson Fury ended up getting in there. Reigns and Fury end up shaking hands as a sign of respect, and the crowd end up booing at that. Reigns end up looking at Solo SIKOA at ringside, end up walking off with him. So Solo SIKOA is now part of the Bloodline. So Tyson Fury then walked around the ring. He ended up helping Drew McIntyre up. Tyson Fury ended up putting his arm around McIntyre. Ended up holding up his arm. The crowd ended up giving McIntyre a good ovation. Tyson Fury then grabbed the mic. He ended up saying, everyone is here to see McIntyre. He ended up saying that McIntyre may be down right now, but it was an unbelievable fight. So Tyson Fury ended up saying that McIntyre did his country proud. And at times like this, he can only think of one thing. So Tyson Fury then starts to sing American Pie. You know, bye bye Miss American Pie. And the crowd end up singing with him. So then McIntyre ended up saying that it didn't quite go as he wanted. But his island showed itself to be better than Reigns' island of relevancy. McIntyre ended up saying that he has something in common with Tyson Fury. He ended up saying that they keep fighting and you can't keep them down. McIntyre ended up saying, no matter what the outcome was, it's time to frickin' party. So McIntyre ended up asking Fury to sing Sweet Caroline. But Tyson Fury doesn't know it. So McIntyre ended up singing Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis. So, and then you had, Fury and McIntyre singing along with the crowd there in Cardiff. And Drew McIntyre and Tyson Fury end up celebrating in the ring. And that was how Clash at the Castle ended. But overall, I was like, did they forget to turn off the cameras for this? Because normally you wouldn't see this, play out on TV. Usually this happens when the cameras, turn off and they give the crowd some, thing like this or like a dark match if you go there to a event. But no, they decided to keep the cameras going for this. But I was like, was this really needed? This was cringe and awful to the point where, listen to them sing along made my ears bleed. Was it really needed? But anyways, Clash at the Castle, very good show this was, very entertaining, and let's hope that next year they do another Clash at the Castle, which obviously, if WWE saw success in this, then they will possibly do another one, next year. But hopefully they do. But anyways, that's it for the Clash at the Castle review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. There will be no all-out review tomorrow. Sadly, I'll be working late, but as soon as I get out, we'll watch all out just to see what matches, are done as, I tune in. But anyways, I'll see you all Monday for Monday Night Raw. So, till then, see you all later.